Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Dolan. It's nice to see you once again on Wisconsin Icons. My title sponsor is Pasternak and Zergabel, injurywisconsin.com, and they are good people and they know their business. I've used them, I've needed them, and I know them well, and I highly recommend them. Injurywisconsin.com. Now, our icon today is not a person. Our icon today is a place. Our icon today is really an experience. It occurs in Door County. It occurs at Newport State Park, which is pretty far up near Gills Rock. And that's where we find and we experience Wisconsin's first and still only international dark sky park. And I've experienced it, and it is remarkable. So let's learn more about it with our guest today on Icons, Beth Bartoli. Beth is the naturalist at Newport State Park. Beth, hi, welcome to Wisconsin Icons.
Well, hello, Bob, and thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's nice for you to share information about what at least I perceive to be a fairly remote and good, well-kept secret in Door County. That's not only the park itself, but in particular the dark sky.
That is a fact.
I'll tell a brief story. You're familiar with some of this, but so hang with me while I explain to the listener and the viewer that my wife and I have been coming to Door County for literally for 30, 35 years. And we thought we knew Door County pretty darn well until just a few months ago when good friends of ours suggested that we visit your park, Newport State Park. And it's in a remote location. That's probably why we haven't discovered it before. And we arrived in the late morning, and we were both, Beth, struck by how remote it was, how beautiful it was, how quiet and private it was. So we had to come in and say hi to you, just to say you've got a real treasure here. And that's when we were told for the first time about the dark sky. So first of all, do you hear that a lot, Beth, from people who like, where's this been? I'm so glad I discovered it. It's remote. I mean, is that a common reaction?
It's a very common reaction. The peninsula, of course, is long and skinny, and we are at the northern end of the peninsula. So when people visit, the peninsula gets narrower as you go further north, and the towns get smaller. So they stop along the way, of course, and there's 3 state parks before you even get to us, one of them being Peninsula State Park, which is a very big state park for Wisconsin. It's the second most highly attended park in the state. Devil's Lake is number 1. So a lot of people think the world ends at Peninsula State Park.
Yeah.
And so Newport, being way up at the north end, being managed as a wilderness area park, so we're very rustic and we have backpack camping only and that type of thing. It kind of doesn't get onto people's radar as much.
Yeah. Now, as beautiful as it was, as it is during daylight hours, the real highlight and the real uniqueness comes after the sun goes down, and that's the dark sky. So first of all, but just explain in general, what is a dark sky park?
Oh, my pleasure. We are sanctioned by the International Dark Sky Association, IDA, which is, as the name says, an international organization that is out there to protect our skies from light pollution. They are represented on all continents other than Antarctica, from what I believe, as far as having public areas. Started maybe 40 years ago. There wasn't a whole lot in the Midwest when we started our process of going through to get our designation. There's 1 in Michigan. Now there's 2. We're the only one in Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. So at the time when we got our designation in 2017, it took me 5 years to get that designation, because it's not, oh, you're dark enough, come on in. There's very stringent standards. And we were only one of 17 state parks at the time. Now there's many more because it's been 6 years. So yeah. Not very well heard of, particularly in the Midwest, because so many of these are out west in the western part of the United States.
Is it all because, Beth, of the park's geographic location?
That's a huge part of it. Being on the north end of a peninsula, 11 miles of shoreline sticking into Lake Michigan, which of course there's no lights out there. 5 to 6 miles from two very little towns.
Mm-hmm.
We are managed as a wilderness park. We don't have big campgrounds and lots of buildings with lots of light. So there was a lot of different factors that went into the fact that we are dark enough and we can manage doing this. And this is ongoing. We have to take sky meter readings a minimum of 2 times a year. We have to do educational and outreach all the time. There's reports that have to be sent because you can lose your designation. If it gets too light, you're not following protocol, you can lose your designation.
Do you need the cooperation of the small communities around you?
Yes, we spoke to the town board of Liberty Grove, which is Sister Bay, Ellison Bay, and Gills Rock, and even a destination, Door County, which is our tourism bureau, just to put it on people's radar, because even putting in streetlights makes a difference.
Right.
Building and zoning, how is new lighting handled, so that we were on their radar while we were going through the process of applying, just so they knew, hey, this is a community thing. This is not just us. This is a community thing. Or even getting it on people's radar, visitors or people that are moving up here, people that live up here. Don't leave your lights on all the time. Don't pick a big sodium light out in your yard. So just getting it on people's radar, because they simply aren't aware sometimes. They're just not aware.
And you also need the cooperation of those who come to see the dark sky, right? I mean, we can't be bringing in lanterns or flashlights, correct?
Absolutely. And we want people to be safe, of course, because when you're here, particularly during new moon, when we do a lot of our programs, it's dark. I mean, you can't see your hand in front of your face. So if you have a light that's not a red light, that's not going to ruin your night vision, shine your light down towards your feet, not in your neighbor's face, or turn your car lights down to running lights when you're coming into the parking lot. Just keep it on your radar that other people are trying to get this experience, or there's astrophotographers here trying to get photos. So we have a lot of that, particularly in the summer months when the Milky Way is directly overhead.
Obviously, Beth, there's going to be some nights where it's just not there. It's just not happening. But is there a time of year that our percentages would be better to come and look at the dark sky?
Well, anytime it's a new moon, there's no moonlight in the sky. We know when that is. And it's usually 2 days before, 2 days after new moon. There's no moonlight to light up the sky. Of course, we don't know when the clouds are going to be here. We don't know when the rain's going to be here. But at least that gives you a window of 4 or 5 days of, okay, it's going to be dark if the sky is clear. 90 minutes after sundown, which is generally the time of astronomical twilight, is when the sunlight is out of the sky. So you want to know when sundown is. This time of year, it's much earlier than the summer months. So spring and fall, it's earlier. Summer months, it could be 10:30 before it's dark enough to really start seeing things out there. So all those things that you just need to be aware of.
Do you have restrictions on how late one can stay during the night?
Well, the park closes at 11 o'clock, and that's per DNR mandate. So people are supposed to be out of here by 11. When we have a special viewing night, we are okay to stay open later, and we do those viewing nights about once a month. So it's okay for us to be in here a little bit later when we have special nights.
Let me briefly try to explain to you how we felt when we did the dark sky for the first time. And I don't know if this was the perfect night or just kind of a regular night. I had no idea, but it set us back. I think it clearly exceeded what we had been told it would be like. In fact, there were times, Beth, we just sat we threw a beach towel down, and which most people did. There were times you could swear you could reach up and grab a star. I mean, it just was fascinating, and the whole sky is like that. I'm going to grab a star. So, but you've been through this for years, so I wonder if you could do a better job than I just did. What's it all about? I mean, how does it hit you, and how does it hit most people?
Well, most people in their city or urban environment can only see the brightest of stars. You can pick out the Big Dipper, maybe a planet here or there, but they don't see that entirety of the sky that Milky Way that is just and you're right. The more you are out there, the more your eyes adjust, the darker it gets, the more you see. If you don't have that wow factor, there's something wrong, because it is an amazing, and one of my greatest, and it still gives me goosebumps when I think about it. You know, we're doing a program where I'm out there with people, and this little boy, this is a perfect example. This little boy points up and says, "What's that big cloud up there? Why is it cloudy?" It's like, that's not a cloud. That's our galaxy, son. That's our Milky Way. Those are stars. Those are all stars. And he's looking up and he goes, wow. That's what it's all about. It's the wow factor. That's what it's all about.
It is magnificent. Now, I wonder if I appreciate your time today, I really do, but I wonder if there's sort of a good news, bad news thing with our discussion, because now a lot of people are going to know about it and a lot of more people are going to come, but it does not impact what we experience if there's 5 people in the park on a particular night or 500.
Not at all. Because people come in and they're not here generally for hours and hours and hours and hours. You know, they might come in for an hour or two. And like you said, you put your blanket down or a lawn chair. That's the best way to see it, is looking directly up, because your eyes adjust to all that and just taking in all that magnificence. That's the best way to do it. So we do have people, and more people are yearning for that. You know, they're looking for that connection that you just can't find in a lot of places, especially in the Midwest. You know, and you think in the middle of the Midwest, we have this dark sky park, and there's many dark parts of Wisconsin, but this part has been sanctioned. It's been set aside. It's for everyone, and everyone can come.
Well, Beth, you know as well as I do, you're sitting on a gold mine. I mean, you're sitting in, I think when we first met and chatted, you had, I can't remember your precise description, but you said, I just feel like it can almost be spiritual.
Yeah, it most definitely can.
Yeah.
And people connect with nature in many different ways. And this is another aspect of nature, that if it is dark and it is clear and you get to see all this, that it is a connection. It certainly is a connection. And I think I probably told you, I almost feel guilty telling people this is where I get to work here. Yeah, lucky me. I get to work here at Newport State Park.
I remember telling you that when we first met. I said, "This is your job?"
Yeah.
Not a bad job. Yeah. Well, it's Newport State Park. And I mean, is it Ellison Bay officially, or do you have a?
Yes.
Okay.
The technical address is Ellison Bay, but
Okay.
it's really between Ellison Bay and Gills Rock. You're coming up Highway 42. There's all kinds of signs to find Newport State Park. You can find it on the DNR website very easily. So easy to find. You just got to come far enough north to find us.
It's worth the trip. Trust me. Beth, you've been great. And I really appreciate your visit on Wisconsin Icons. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I love bragging about my park, and thank you for your time.
Great gratitude to Beth Bartoli. She's a very kind woman, and she also knows how fortunate she is to be working there at the dark sky. And it's something that Wisconsin is and should be very proud of. It's one of the few in the Midwest, and it is the only one in Wisconsin. And believe me, if you time it right, it is a show that you will long remember. So thank you to Beth. Thank you again, as always, to my title sponsor, Pasternak and Zergabel, InjuryWisconsin.com. And as always, thanks to you for joining me on Wisconsin Icons, and we will talk and visit again real soon.